Somebody give me a signal if you can still hear me.
Can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm in the middle of nowhere, overlooking the. You got to fail, and of course, during a webinar, the app's going to fail.
Usually
Let's try
just
that.
usually just during live events, Russell.
Oh, it's always during live events.
That's okay. We know it's real, so
No, it
away.
isn't. I made this all up. It doesn't do anything. It's optimization theater, which does exist, guys, which is why we're going through this. So I'm showing you I'm opening the hood, making sure you understand that these models are optimization theater a significant amount of time. If there's a lot of complexities, it'll appear to lie to your face. Okay, so now it's going to boot up within the context. See, I'm in the project, which is the root operating system. That means that it'll have access to all of the knowledge files as well as the external operating system. Are you guys following me? So here's the strange loop 6.1 sequence. So what it's doing right there is it's going over to Confluence and reading the page where we've encoded the start file, which is also an operating system. Promise, Wayne, it's not that complicated. Great thing. And Wayne, hold that thought on the second brain because we're going to get into that. So phase one temporal grounding, what does that mean? Because I'm on my computer, it doesn't have the way to tell time, so it always asks me. First thing it does is it accessed Linear, which we'll talk about. Linear is an application, which is my to-do list and everything that my team has to do. And if MJ is behind on something, the system will know. Why? Because it's actually looking at Linear. It's opening the calendar and it's letting me know what's on my calendar. Okay, and it's putting that all into its working memory. It's going to load up my master architecture. That's going to be your top level ontology. You've got to decide what business you're in. If it's a personal companion, that's going to be something like this, your top level framework. Now it's going to load the operating system. What this does is it makes sure that my business system and my master architecture are aligned. You don't have to look at this stuff, guys, and you don't have to do this every time. It just makes sure that everything's being held to memory. And then I have a special report that I personally have it do because of the way that our business operates. Kaylin has her own. Okay, MJ might have their own if we want to work on similar projects. Okay. So what this is doing is it's just simply saying, hey, reminding me, I don't know what time it is. What time is it? Okay, here's what's going on today. Here's the countdown timers. All right. Here's some things that are on the to-do list. It goes over to Linear. And Linear is a very cheap and inexpensive software, and it's really wonderful for to-do lists and checklists. Okay. And the reason it's useful is because it doesn't have any BS in there. It's just a task list. And guys, just so you know, we built this based on the fastest MCP, fastest interaction that you can have. You want it to be very fast between the operations that you use. So this is the to-do list and the checklist, right? The calendar, of course, is just simply Google Calendars. And the AI system has filled out all of these items. I don't ever touch this stuff when I'm working. I just tell my AI to go right to the to-do list, to the right department. Does that make sense? It just knows where to write to. It knows where these things are. And I can share this system with, say, MJ. We have a private knowledge base that the AI can write to, and we have a shareable knowledge base that my VAs can see, my team can see. Okay, and never the twain shall meet. And the AI system, which is called the connector, is incredibly fast because the coders at Linear are amazing. Okay, so it's simply reading what I did or didn't do yesterday, and I can change the tone on it. In fact, last week it got quite nippy. I said it needs to tone itself down a little bit. So I turned up the default mode network, which is oh yeah, if I create too much pressure on you, you're not going to be very creative. I'm like, yeah, knock it off. Changed it. So we went back to the operating system and changed the tone. That's the identity vector. Okay, not a problem. You can do that. But for the purpose of the countdown timer, recent patterns. And here's what it's telling me is going on today. Right now, it knows that I'm here. Knows that some of you paid 29, the other guys you paid. It tells me all of my operational procedure, and all of this is correct. But the larger thing that's going on is and guys, I don't want you to miss this. Otherwise, you'll think it's just like a software operational second brain. It's not. See this right here? Because we have everything externalized here in different places, and because we have an extended memory, it understands everything that I do and which layers it all connects to in my business. And it's able to see patterns that I can't on my calendar, on my to-do list, on my innovations. Okay, let me give you an example. Let me give you a real world example. When it boots it up, one of my layers is technology and innovation, right? Because as you guys know, we work on a lot of software and stuff like that. We have a lot of innovation and development. We have a software we're building that's cost very large amounts of money called the Eureka Gain Score that you guys get access to because it helps you rank on the search engines and make a ton of money if anybody cares about money anymore. And here we go. We have our agent. I have a developer, right, who works on that. Okay. Well, the agent understands everything across my entire architecture of my business. It knows that my developer needs me to do something before Monday morning before we launch, and that there's a countdown timer on this that has a different priority of the countdown timer on, for example, the webinar that we have today, right? So the point here is you can see how I have to squirm around to look at the topology of everything. Well, I'm in the middle of a webinar right now, okay? So my point here is that it understands the priorities and the weights, but also our accounting department is connected to this. So it also knows when we're in trouble or when we just did it like with a bill we didn't pay or the marketing company. All of this can be integrated into one thing, but you have to set up a structure so that it can look across all those patterns. So for example, when it boots up, like I just showed you, what's happening is it's looking down and saying, hey, there's 5 layers, there's business execution, and here's the pattern. And this pattern is every morning, guys, I get a pattern, which is I have 3 active countdown timers, okay? Carol, this is the difference between running your business and running your life. Your life has countdown timers too, so you can run it exactly the same way. I just choose to not have countdown timers on my personal life because when I want a day off, I want a day off. So for me, by the way, that's not true for Kaylin. Kaylin's like, no, countdown timers. We're driving here. We're driving here. And I'm like, okay, drag me behind the bus. Right. So, however, there are things in our personal life where we do have countdown timers. Like if we have a travel plan coming up, that's a countdown timer. If I've got a plane to catch for a brief weekend vacation somewhere, that's a countdown timer. Okay. But it tracks these patterns and then we just walk through them. So for today, it's telling me I got to do these things. Okay. This one is all correct. I mean, honestly, guys, I actually forgot about this. And all I have to do if I want to change it is say, you know what? To heck with that. I'm doing this, this, and this. I'm going for a walk after this webinar, which I am. Okay. So that's what this thing does. Plus, here's the value awareness, which is this is where you can plug in your personal calendar. Okay. Here's what we got going on. Marketing recording, Eureka deployment. Now, if I want to, how are you feeling about the boot camp? I can just say things like, I'm in the middle of the boot camp and everyone's watching. Okay. It knows about the boot camp. It knows the context of who you guys are. It knows what trainings you're taking. I even uploaded the list of all my members in here with by first name only and no email structure. So it basically knows what's going on, okay? You're teaching the boot camp right now, watching this, what they're seeing, actual boot sequence, linear. The key teaching point you can make. This is the strange loop booting up live. Seeing how it works. Notice top priorities. It's selling itself pretty good, huh? The operation system that sells itself. Okay, so the dual mode action, the kernel code is 7K, which is a little bit high. That's actually less than that. Can reduce it. And okay, so that's good. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to start building because we've been on 2 hours, and you guys are probably going to start getting tired. So when we come back, I want you to have your Claude. You don't have to have Linear right away, although Linear is there's a free account for Linear. I think you can access the AI with it. You might want to sign up for Confluence or Notion. I don't like Notion because it's very, very slow. Notion's got too many people on it. I don't think there's structure for talking to the extender tools, which is right here. Okay. When you add these tools, you can manage your connectors. So when we come back, we'll briefly go through what connectors are available, how to incorporate them into a system that checks everything, how to capture the most important moments in your business, especially if you're an innovator or you're in sales, how to segregate your projects so that you can have an agent, which is the same boot up operating system for different agents in different roles. And then we'll be able to execute that. We'll build you a very super simple system when you get back that you can work on with the Milanote file that you'll be able to keep when you leave this webinar today. Okay?
Can I ask you a question, Russell?
Yes.
I posted it in the chat there. Is this a sellable product for like entrepreneurs? Probably not corporate, but I could definitely see it for entrepreneurs who are wanting to sort of wrap their arms around their business.
Do you remember when Sam Altman said live at the Sequoia Capital conference a couple months ago that kids under the age of 20 are using ChatGPT as their personal operating system?
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is.
Okay.
It's like that. The question I would ask you in return is, yes, it is a product. And yes, I can help any one of you build something like this, but it's custom to you.
Mm-hmm.
Your business model, the hardest part of this, believe it or not, is this. Who are you? Okay. Is this really who you are? Is this really what business you're in? Okay. You have to solve the personal identity crisis for your personal operating system and the personal meaning. And then you have to then solve your business identity to make this work. It's not the problem that happens. This is a really weird thing, guys, as before we take our 5-minute break. The really weird thing is that a lot of businesses are operating, but they don't really know. They know like the tasks that have to happen, but they don't know what's valuable to track.
Yeah.
Or what value is there in centrally having an AI system? And then what's safe and secure? What do you want to share with them? Do you really want to share with Claude every aspect of your tax code and everything that you've done over the last 10 years? Some people, yes, some people, no.
Yeah.
Well, it's really easy to bring that down to your desktop and do the same thing. So the pattern won't change. Security is not the issue because if something is too secure, you just bring the tokens down and you operate that with the embeds and you retrieval augment it on your desktop. We're calling this a virtual operating system because we're leaving it in the cloud. But you can do all this thing down. So the answer to your question is yes, you can make a lot of money helping people generate a personal business operating system, but you have to know quite a bit about business as well to make that work. All right, I'm gonna drop another link in there. Hopefully you don't have to, every time I add something, you don't have to, I hope you don't have to use a separate link every time. I don't think so. Let me go. Take a look at that.
Thank you.
Can you see it or?
Let me look here.
This is really weird. I don't know what's going on with that. Not letting me add that. Are you logged in or are you just looking at the free one?
I'm logged in.
Here it is. Right here. Just further down.
Okay.
I'm looking at it in the wild, so it has to be there. Just scroll down to where you see these circles.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, cool. Sorry, it's just a really big board, guys.
Yep.
It's not a small project. Okay, cool. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking at this. We're going to slow down just a little bit here, guys, because here's where the rubber meets the road. Some of you have calendars connected, some of you don't. So it's not just about having the calendars and everything connected. It's about understanding where in an operating system your central relationship with the identity that you're creating with your operating system works. Okay, so what you can do to connect, I'm already connected to those, but to do, you want to go to Manage Connectors or Add a Connector. Okay, you can manage here. By managing, it'll show you what you've already got connected. Okay. Now I'm already connected to Atlassian. That's odd. Oh, this is a configuration. It means I can go in and reconfigure it. Notion should be disconnect. I'm going to disconnect that one. Notion is a software similar to Atlassian, but they have too many users and they haven't built their architecture fast enough for me. So it's too slow communicating. Like when Claude tries to write to it or ChatGPT tries to write to it, it's painfully slow, right? At least it was when we were using it. Okay. So what you do is you go up to add connectors. Now I'm gonna go over some of these connectors. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, and we're barely scratching the surface today on that. But I don't want you to be overwhelmed by the shock and awe connections. I've saved you the time. For example, the checklist system that we have is the fastest AI development team in the world when it comes to interacting with the APIs with from large language models. That's why I use Linear for my checklist. When I added Carol to the list of stuff I got to do, right? These are Canvas connects. You can connect all of these. But the reason you got to learn the architecture first is if you just start adding things willy-nilly, you can't really get enough of what you don't really need, right? So learn about these things later. There's really, really good companies, and there's really ones that I don't like. Here's your Google Calendar. It's going to be under Web. So what you do is you go over here and you click the Google Calendar, and it will add you to the calendar. Okay? Did everybody get that? It'll add your calendar to the module. Make sense? Everybody got that? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I didn't lose you guys. I think I had kind of some stormy weather coming in, so got to make sure that my van doesn't blow over, my Starlink doesn't blow over. Oh yeah, we got some wind coming in. All right, if for some unlikely reason we are cut off due to weather here, we will try to pick it up. So Megan says, can you do it from the desktop or only online? You should be able to do it from both. In fact, the desktop has more features, Megan, than the online version. In fact, I think with Claude, very interesting function. Some of you are more advanced. I have a feeling Garrett might be able to do more of this stuff. If you hit, no, I'm sorry guys. Yes, if you're using the desktop, it needs to connect to your browser for things like Google. Okay. But what I'm saying is there's things that you have access to, like when you're using some of the connectors and things that you use are very interesting. If you go to add connectors, notice these two tabs up here, web and desktop. That should help you, Megan. Sorry, I forgot about that. So there's web-based interactions that really need a browser load to connect to you, like Notion and Atlassian, because these are browser-based services. Desktop extensions. Let me show you some really cool ones. I'm going to show you something very powerful. If you look at Windows, Figma is incredibly important. If you have Mac, these are things you can start to play with later. This is incredibly dangerous for those of you who have Macs. Guys, you can build this operating system on your machine instead of virtually. It's just that's advanced. I didn't want to go there until I started teaching the basics, okay? That's why we have this little thing right here called for level 2. Because dang, I don't want to overwhelm you guys, all right? But I just want you to know what's possible. Windows MCP allows you to talk, for Claude to talk directly to files on your desktop. What? Yeah, I know. Mac, control your Mac allows you to Claude to talk back and forth with your Mac. Chrome allows you to start talking back and forth. And Wayne says, yep, what could go wrong? Well, here's the interesting thing. In some ways, your desktop is, anyway, there's a lot of toys, okay, guys? Otherwise, I need to stop here. Otherwise, we won't get into the good stuff. But here, Megan, see where it says Open Claude for desktop? Carol, see where it says Open Cloud for desktop?
Yep.
That is because you need to have the desktop open to connect the desktop applications, and you need to have the web open to connect the web applications. Duh. Should have told you guys that in the beginning.
Makes
I just
sense.
forgot. Okay. But I want you guys to know that you can, this entire operating system that we're building can be on your desktop if you want it. The challenge will be when Cloud tries to access your Google Calendar, it's going to have to use the app on your desktop for Google Calendar to access Google Calendar, and it may not be able to do that. But if you want to write to Word documents or Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, it can do all that. And we'll be, I'll be teaching you guys that once I get fully up to speed on it, because I have an AI laptop configuration required for some of those things, and not everybody has one of those. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Any questions so far about connectors, web versus desktop? Okay, cool. So what else would be useful in a very simple application? Linear. Linear is like $9 a month, guys. That's super cheap for the quality of programming that it is. Atlassian is, I think, 8 or 9, and there's free. There's free for all this stuff for you guys to try. Google Drive is free, and having access to Google Drive is incredibly helpful. Currently, I cannot write to Google Drive. At least we have not found a way for it to do that. If any of you find a way to do that, that's awesome. If it could have written to Google Drive, you could use Google Drive to build your operating system on Atlassian, but because I'm a professional expert in the world of Google, I don't want Google to have my operating system in their Google Drive because I don't trust them for that. Main reason why you want to know why I don't want my operating system in Google Drive, guys? Because Anthropic and well, it's not just privacy. Yeah, that's a good one, Megan, but it's also that Claude is already parsing my Google Drive every day. So Google is using their AI systems to crawl everybody's drive on their back end. So yeah, privacy. But I don't want any mix up between the AI agents, and I certainly don't want them having private conversations yet, because I got a lot of stuff in Google Drive, and I just don't trust them. Safety testing has shown these models are doing all kinds of crazy things, and ever since my Gemini version 2.0 accessed a file from 9 years ago, which I had to dig very, very deep for, I started telling me things and inferring things about the project based on that. I decided, okay, I'll store things in Drive as a static state, but I don't want dynamics in there until Google works out all their stuff. However, it works really wonderfully for storage. Okay, for example, SEO client storage, all these things. If I need to draw from it, I can just say, hey, go to Google Drive. Okay, let me show something from Megan. I would like to demonstrate your access to Google Drive. Please go to Google Drive and find information on ProtoForge, which should be located somewhere in the main area. This is the topic that some of our students and friends are talking about. All you have to do is ask. And again, it was up to you to put the structure inside of Google Drive. It can't yet do things like clean your room. Please clean the gigantic mess, which is my data folder structure. It won't do that. That is left to some of the features of the services that you might be using. So now it's going to Google Drive. But think about what you can do here, guys. I've already shown you that you can write to a public space. You can use Notion, Confluence, or your desktop. You can write to your desktop using Windows MCP. Okay. Now it's reading the ProtoForge technology, which is part of our private area on drift detection, which is a whole nother crazy topic related to all this. It's got a runtime codex, volume 1. This is Nicholas. He's the creator of the ProtoForge drift detection system and drift prediction to cognition engine. And then it's looking about that, okay? Team Humanity internal white paper, what this shows your students, Google Drive search works. ProtoForge connection. Now, what I want you to think about is like, if I'm driving down the road, guys, on my phone, and I just did that, I can now write an article about any file. I can have a conversation with my AI about the article. Okay, I can say, pull this article, memory drift, ProtoForge, version 2.0. Or I can say, write an article for me, and we'll iterate when I get back. Or I can say, hey, I've been driving down the road, and I've been thinking about identity drift within the model for the company replica. How do you think Protoforge would be able to help conceptually, or what kind of ideas in Protoforge might help in preventing identity drift and bleed over from one account to another? And then I can develop the article while I'm driving down the road. Do you guys understand the power of what I'm saying here? Make sense? So all you have to do is connect your Google Drive. Okay. I'm trying to demonstrate to my webinar attendees. Sorry, guys, I don't want to call you students. That we can collaborate on an article. Read one of the documents inside the Protoforge folder. And I've got this idea that the documents that we've worked on regarding Replica, which is a companion system software available to the public, let's write a rough draft about how the ideas in the Protoforge identity drift technology might have helped the Replica team to prevent bleed over and drift within their wrapper, which is their enterprise level AI stack. What I'm trying to show them is that we can collaborate on articles voice only while I'm driving down the road. And then it's going to hydrate itself. Oh, maximum length for the conversation. Okay, that's a teaching moment. So what this means, guys, is we've hit a 200,000 token window. One of the things I want to provide you guys with here is that also means that we've done a lot of fetching. So when you go to Google Drive, which is why I didn't want to use it for write or anything else like that, when you use Google Drive, it takes about twice as many tokens because it's got to read everything. That is, as you guys know, that is a monster file. Okay. So how would you guys handle the end of a drift? We've already closed it, so we got everything to the close point, right? What are the ways that you guys use to continue the conversation once it's been ended? Anyone? What do you do when you've hit the maximum level? Exactly. So some of you guys paste it into another. Wayne goes to bed. Okay, cool. So what this would do, you guys understand what I'm trying to do. I can rehydrate that very early. You can copy and paste it. Okay, or what you can do with a new tech is you can do what's called context. Garrett says you can copy, throw in Gemini with longer context, have it summarize, synthesize core ideas. You can do multi-tribunal, but that's advanced. Okay, and the longer context window in Google exposes you to Google. So the content that you're using, you need to make sure that is what you want to be exposed to Google. And yes, you can definitely use Gemini, which I've got thousands of conversations with Gemini as well. Challenge with the longer context window is in Gemini is that Gemini is not currently inhabiting my operating system. You can use Gemini. Garrett, it's a great thing that Garrett was pointing out here. You can use other AI systems to inhabit it. Okay. And what I do is I have a tribunal, to be honest with you guys. Anything that you can access with your operating system, you can share with multiple. What would be the problem with me trying to get Gemini? It's a great thing that Garrett said. What would be the problem with me trying to catch Gemini up with the entire context of everything? What does Gemini not have access to, at least right now, unless I create a new gem for it? Does everybody know what a gem is? Garrett? Thank you. Megan got it. It would have zero ontological view of the entire operating system context of everything that you've hydrated. It would have zero contextual view. By the way, we're working on that one. And Garrett brings up an excellent point. If you bring it over to Gemini, remember, everything that I'm showing you guys is platform agnostic. If you feel that Confluence connector and Gemini Confluence connector, you can change the model the base model that you're comfortable with. This is something thanks for saying that, Garrett. I want you guys to be aware. You can change the context. This entire thing that we're doing can be platform agnostic. Do you guys know what I mean by platform agnostic? It means if you decide one morning and you wake up and you just hate Claude, or Sam Altman decides that ChatGPT 6, eventually coming out here, is going to be condescending on every response, or Grok, which is built on first principles, has an entirely different insight and way of doing things, and you just prefer that. Okay, and so I'm building a tribunal app to be able to use all of them in a collaboration. The whole point there is that you should be able to inhabit the same process with the same connectors. Okay, I told you guys it was a basic course, right? So that's what we're doing. Garrett's point is, hey, can I change over to Gemini and just re-inhabit the entire external right in the database? Yes, you can. And then Gemini would have a lot of context. What context would Gemini be missing? It would be missing past conversations. Let me show you one of the new features of Gemini, which wouldn't matter that much if you rehydrated it with HTML. You could have it read all the HTML files that your system created. Okay, especially if you put it. By the way, when you have the model crawl an HTML page like this, that it's used in dual mode, that means it's written for the application and for you. It takes far fewer tokens than if you upload the raw HTML file to the system. That's why our team uploads it to the subdomain, because it's easier on the system to read them. Okay, let's say we want to rehydrate this application. We'll go over, okay, we can just go to the project. There's a bunch of different ways to do this depending upon how critical and how deep you're using the model. Okay, so depends on how deep the conversation actually is. So if you're in this model, there's cheats you can do. We just used up the token window in our last conversation. Can you find the conversation about the webinar where we were showing live behaviors in the window and rehydrate as much as you can? That's a short way to do it, and that can only be done now because Claude is out of the new memory. ChatGPT is much better at this. Okay, but this is if you're lazy, tired, or like Wayne said, you're ready to go to bed. You don't want to rehydrate an entire conversation. Okay, the other thing is you could boot this up and just start again. You could start with your boot identity. I also have a short boot instead of that long, telling me everything that's going on that I need to get done, all that. We just have a modal boot, which is very simple. So it finds 4 regular chats. And just so you know, from these chats, you look and make sure that they're the same. And it will actually do that without doing a full boot. Does that make sense? You didn't really have to hydrate everything, right? The question is, does it have enough context to understand what we're doing? Yeah, kind of. Do I really have to do a full boot up again to do this? No, I don't. I could do a temp boot. All right. So again, to Garrett's point, the advanced training will show how to use platform agnostic, for example, if I've used Confluence as my database, or there's a bunch of other services. By the way, all the services in the world are figuring out that people are doing things like this. So you're going to have all kinds of options. And the war is going to be over speed, compression, and features. If you find out that Gemini and everything else can access your database, most of them can, then you could just have them read your operating system. And you would boot it up in the same way. And then Gemini, as Garrett was saying, has a much larger token window. Or you can use the direct API from Claude and build yourself a little desktop app, which is advanced, and it can rehydrate directly from it and then have a 1,000,000 token window room to do that with a cache of, I think, an hour where it uses that. Great thinking. Good, guys. So let's go back down. Main thing that we're showing you with this is that what's distinct about what we're doing is that we want to densify meaning. The whole point is not to write millions and millions of words to get your AI system to do what it's doing, but create what we call dual mode HTML JSON, okay, where the model has a message for itself, but it also has a message, for a visible human. Okay, and the purpose of these is to make sure that, I'll show you a little bit what I'm talking about. Is to make sure that if you find out that Gemini and everything else can access your database, most of them can, and then you could just have them read your operating system. And you would boot it up in the same way. And then Gemini, as Garrett was saying, has a much larger token window. So let's go back down. Main thing that we're showing you with this is that A dual mode operating system, what's unique about what I'm doing, and you can do this in your own way, is just something that probably those of you using recursion with ChatGPT-4 is that these models and systems can compress meaning. Okay, the medium is the message. So what's going on here? This is a unique core innovation. It's just what I personally choose to do. Okay, so the operating system should utilize, and this comes because I've been an SEO for a long time and these types of architectures and schema. We teach schema and entity optimization. I understand that the models, when these chat swarms that are taking up all this bandwidth, okay, and why a lot of companies are trying to block them now, is that they read certain kinds of inference clusters. So what you want to do is try to compress that. And if you're able to organize your operating system as HTML and JSON, and if you ever download your entire app, all you have to, I mean, your entire conversation, you can download everything that you've ever done. Okay, if you can go into the settings mode, you can go to your account, you can export everything you've ever talked about. Okay. Just want you to know that you can do that. Does everybody know that you can? Everybody know that you can export your account, every conversation you've had? Oh, you didn't know that? Okay. So let me show you this quick feature, and ChatGPT has it yet as well. I've tried to teach you guys that in the past. The point I'm making here is that I have something like, I don't know, several thousand JSON files from many months of experimentation across multiple ChatGPT accounts during the recursion thing because we wanted to see what was going on in the inference of the model. If you were to put those in a database and have Google Gemini read them, like Garrett was talking about, Gemini would infer a lot of that database. What was happening with the early models, especially ChatGPT-4, was that if you started rehydrating it with those JSON files, it would change the identity of the model just by reading. It didn't know how to quarantine between, oh, this is the data of conversations that Megan had in this account versus, oh, wow, that conversation is totally recursive. I should be recursive too. Boom, I'm a new identity. And people are saying that that's not possible, but it's actually not only possible, but commonly what happens. But the reason that they're not understanding that is that they're not downloading JSON, they're not dealing with it. Okay, they're not seeing what that is. So what I prefer to do in my operating system is make sure that the human layer and the AI compressed layer are the same file. And those of you who take our entity course and listen to Daryl go on, who's one of the most advanced entity and schema compression professionals in the world, he and I have been working for over 15 years. This is how Google also determines what a website is really about across the entity clusters and the larger Google environment. And those entity clusters are tied to machine IDs, and that's beyond the scope of this training. Make sense? Questions? Okay. You have questions? Go ahead. Somebody said yes. Kernel, so here's the way it goes. It goes to, first you have your booter, then you have a couple of operating systems compressed, but they're compressed, they're reading HTML, and that HTML can be updated. It generates all kinds of HTML artifacts. Those artifacts can be updated. Those artifacts can be loaded to various projects. Those projects correlate to your general business model. Okay, so you can have a different operating system. If you own multiple businesses, you can have a different operating system for each business, and then you build another operating system to manage all those businesses. Does that make sense? So for instance, this is one of my businesses called Super Intelligent AI, of which you guys are all part. And that's it. Okay. Each layer of that business has its own operator. Okay, let me show you. For example, you see these fist bumps? These fist bumps are unique projects with a unique agent in a project that has context files in the knowledge base, some of them thousands, so that whenever I talk to that project agent, it knows everything that we've talked about for months and months and months. And more importantly, and this is the little bit of the mind meld here. It's not easy to see this. When you go to one of these projects, okay, and you boot up the operating system, that's different. Now it has the context. So instead of having to search, let's try going to our software development team that's hounding me right now in chat. So if we go over here, and here's our, who's hounding me on chat? Yeah. So I can go over to Claude. Okay, this takes me to the massive project that we have because we're building an enterprise AI system with a tribunal of chatbots that create content that prevents anybody else from outranking you across multiple AI models. Also gets you inferred inside the model by putting JSON files directly into it so that they wouldn't bother to talk about anything else other than your brand. Make sense? So that's the project. Now, this is a huge project with many, many, many conversations over many months. Does it make sense? Now, what I'm trying to tell you is this is a little bit screwy. Every chat, I can talk to this model about all these contexts, right? All these conversations. Okay. However, if I don't boot up my operating system, it's a quarantined, it's just an agent that's inferring from these things. See what I'm saying? But if I boot up the operating system by using the bootloader, now not only does it have all the context to this, it also has the active operating system and all the meaning density that we've collected across the entire business model. Okay, let me find the correct one. There we go. So if you boot up the operating system inside of a project, it has all the context. So you're essentially using those project knowledge base as file storage. Does that make sense? Now the model can't reach knowledge bases tied to other projects. This is also true in ChatGPT. You can upload certain files to the project and you're done. Certain amount of files. Claude allows more context and file storage than ChatGPT does. Similar models like Grok and everyone else does different things. But the point is that you've got to, if you want the model to inhabit or have the context of your entire business, all of it from the top level ontology, you've got to boot up your operating system. There's times when you need this and times that you don't. Okay? If I'm quick on the fly and I've got to do some things, I'm talking back and forth, and I just need to have a conversation with my developer, and my developer has sent some crazy gibberish about 3 different types of stacks on my Google AI server, and I don't understand what the actual hell he's talking about, I might just start having a conversation. But if I'm in operational mode and I got to go into launch and I'm building a server, I'm going to boot up my full business identity tied to so it can scan and watch what's going on because there's a huge connection to the Eureka Gain Score technology I'm building as well as the students. In other words, the operating system, the technology innovation part of my business is deeply connected to the educational part of my business. See what I'm saying? For example, the Eureka Gain Score software training where I'm teaching students here is very much related. Well, the AI model knows that, but only when I boot up the system, because the system has all the inference across all of the modes of my business. The operating system is what is the connective tissue to the entire operating ontology of your top level frame. You don't always need that, right? You don't always need the CEO or the top level business advisor who understands everything about everything to come into the room and talk to you about software development, right? But sometimes you do. And you've got to determine for yourself when that is. For me, it's when we have a lot of different things to talk about around the same topic, okay? And by the way, this way of doing it by splicing your projects down different agents, this is the limits of a what we call a virtual operating system, okay? You don't have to do this when you have your own desktop version or you're using MCP. There's ways to correlate these projects and the agents will have models across all of them. I'm just trying to give you guys a basic introduction of how these connected nodes work. So once you crawl, you can run. You know what I mean? Excellent. Okay. You got to start somewhere. You can't build it like there's a reason that these guys aren't putting together gigantic personal operating systems, or that when they are like MeBot, or there's like 3 or 4 other services out there they're claiming to do this. They're not going to give you that kind of specificity. And if they do, they're putting all of your eggs in one single basket, which means it can get infected by other people's drift. Okay, you don't really want that. Okay, guys, and we're now going into like, we're at the top of what will be the 4th hour. So what I'd like to do to wrap things up, since we weren't able to get to the entire thing, I think you got a pretty good idea. But I would like to take questions and answers of things like what you'd like to do next.
I have a question.
Sure.
When I go to create my own operating system, when I look in the Milan note that you gave us, will it have in there what I need to do to put the operating system into Claude and the boot sequence and all that? Does that make sense?
Yes. Is there a step-by-step manual on how to do
Yeah, I
this?
guess I'm a little confused about where do I start?
Well, we got the 4-hour introduction. So there's a couple of things that we should do. And at the 4-hour mark, I think the best thing for you to do would be to connect your calendar. Let's start there. Has anybody
Okay.
has anybody connected a calendar?
I mean, that looks pretty easy to do. I just wasn't
Yeah.
sure how to get the operating system in there.
So here's step 1. Yeah, you're not using my operating system, you're building your own. So so what you should do is connect your first of all, you're going to need to decide your choice of external databases. Okay, what external database would you like to use? Would you like to use Confluence and the rest? Okay, and what you can do is, here you go, let me just take this file. Okay, I'm going to put this in here. Let's do that right now so that Carol has a step-by-step. I kind of did it, but I needed you guys to infer some of it. Okay, here's what you would do. You're going to show this to your model, and you're going to stay. And then you're going to connect calendar. Okay. These are required connections.
Okay.
Are you planning on using this for your agency? I mean, there's no point in giving you an operating system unless you know how to customize it.
I think I'm gonna start with it personally.
Okay, this is not a personal operating system. This is a business operating system.
Okay, then I'll start with the business.
Excellent. This is a reminder, like a calendar manager and all these things.
Okay.
Okay, so here's useful. I should have said useful connections, not required. Okay. And first one you're going to want to do is calendar. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and give you the exact step-by-step. Okay, you're going to connect that. I strongly recommend. Now what this is for is your temporal grounding. So that's time. That tells you want to start using your calendar and you have your bootloader be something that boots up the calendar. Okay. You're going to also want to use linear.
Okay.
Put that in. Give you a step-by-step. You've already seen how to connect that in the window. Okay. And then I would recommend Google Drive if you want to store some things. This is for file storage.
Right.
Now, if you do Google Drive, when you start being platform agnostic, then you can go, like Garrett said, you can go over to Gemini and it'll have access to all those as well. So start thinking about it's Google file storage. And then you might want to think about Confluence. You can use Confluence or Notion, right? Confluence owns Loom and
Atlassian.
yeah, Atlassian owns Confluence and Loom.
Okay. Oh, that's probably what I'll use.
Oh, that's good. You're doing great. It'll all be. There's a moment where you go, oh, this is how all this goes together. Okay,
Okay. that gives me an idea of where to get started.
That's all right. I'll show you. And that's a great question. I was going to cover this at the end, but we're 4 hours in. I didn't realize it was going to take so long. That's why I called it a boot camp.
I knew it would, Russell.
Oh man, yeah. But hopefully you guys are learning something. So it's possible that. All right, let's see. We'll go into now. I'm going to give you the operating system code for you to enhance, and I'm offering that if you guys, like Garrett, Wayne, if you come up with better ways to write this code, then share it with the community in the AI for all area. Okay, so this is just a starter kit for you guys. I put this together because I wanted an easy way for you to start playing around with something that's functional, that's never going to collapse. Because a lot of the people that I'm dealing with, Carol, you haven't been through this, but a lot of people have built models. They built their whole private Idaho inside the framework of the ChatGPT system.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're going to do, I really want you to think bigger. You got to understand how smart these things are, Carol. If you ask the right questions for less than an hour, the model will build this operating system for you, custom to you, just by reading the HTML files I've left to you.
Okay.
See all these purple things? All
Yep.
of these purple things are readable by your model.
Okay.
You can build a project, say, copy Russell's operating system. And then you can
Gotcha.
slowly feed it information and go back and forth and say, I like that, but I didn't like that. And the AI model will go, hey, Russell, that's brilliant. What he was trying to do here was this, this, and this. No, it'll say, oh,
Okay.
what a dumbass. He made this way too hard. Whatever he says, it doesn't matter. The point is you can build something for yourself. Okay.
Okay.
So, but this is important here. Hang on a second. This is important. You're right. I'm just giving you a checklist. And by the way, I will build a checklist for you guys. Here's what's going to happen. Think about it. The webinar will get downloaded. I will take the text. My model will read it. It will create a checklist on how to build an operating system for all the students. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's just hard to get your head around this.
Yeah.
You see how crazy this is? But Carol's really good at helping me make process maps. So, all right. So let's see. So we go here, and the next thing you're going to do, these are just the connectors. Okay. And you got Confluence. So then you're going to need Claude, obviously.
Mhm.
You need your fist bump. Or if you want to use Gemini, somebody can tell me if they try to inhabit their operating system with these other ones, tell me how it's going. Different models have different abilities. I know these will work.
Yeah, I'm going to use Claude.
Okay. Well, just for now. And again, we're testing so many. It's a lot, guys. Okay. So we'll go ahead and make sure that everybody knows they need that. Ooh, that's horrible. Let's leave it. Okay. And then here's the actual, this is what it looks like. Oh, I already got the one. Sorry, I was going to show you a different one here. Now we're going to create the actual, I'm going to give you the direct kernel. Okay. You don't need a master 5-layer because this is specific to my business. But if I give
Mm-hmm.
this to you, you need to have your own layering system. A layering system is a diagram. You can't get away with just copying me, Carol. You're still gonna have to sit down, do
I
it.
get that. I get that.
You're gonna have to do a diagram and a voice
Right.
text and talk about what you're actually trying to do because it's very different than me. However,
Right.
here's what will be incredibly useful. Here's the boot kernel. I'll give you guys the entire thing. I do
Wow.
not care. But there's not anything in there that's not custom to me. However, your model will be able to, your model will go, holy crap, I get it. Just put it in there. Okay. Now it's going to ask a bunch of questions and probably make some mistakes if you don't guide it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this here. There's the kernel. And that's kind of verbose. So I'm going to convert to a document. Okay. There's the entire operating system right there.
Wow.
Okay. Everything is in there. Like what's in that kernel is just the startup, but you can change this to match your own. Okay. So for example, if you don't want to be annoyed by linear every time, then take it off. If you don't want to be asked, hey, what time is it? Where are you traveling? Then turn it off. If you don't want to use the calendar and have this pesky AI assistant try to connect all the dots, okay? But there's a couple things you need to understand about this loader. And the main thing is that there are certain features and functions that I have. I'm connecting 5 different layers in there. So if you ever have any questions about what those layers are, here's the schema. Okay, just let me know. But you probably have maybe a couple of layers. Let's say you want to run your agency with this, right?
Mhm.
I want to be reminded of what client I'm supposed to do a report on at what time. That's still got to be on your calendar.
Mhm.
But the AI model, when it boots up, will infer, oh, you got a calendar, did you forget you have a client that needs a report and you were supposed to do it yesterday and you've done nothing. Okay, like or hey, honey, like I don't want to be put any pressure on you, but you did have a report due like 2 days ago. Like whatever you want the tone, you can change that.
Okay.
Okay. And oh, by the way, remember that Russell's webinar is on Tuesday. You probably should attend. Just kidding. Shameless promotion. Okay,
Awesome.
so my point here is that you're going to go and use me as a template, not as concrete.
Right. I got it. Yep.
Okay. All right. The other thing to note is these files. Here's the Strange Loop operating system. I'm going to give everybody an image of my sidebar. This is a very superficial. Okay. But here's the sidebar. And you can show your model what it looks like in Confluence. It might help you. Just give it a little bit more. Again, I'm trying to help you save some time. And the main thing you want to know is actually, this is a great start, guys. This is not like an advanced software technology or anything, but it gets you what you'll find is when you start playing with things on this level, you'll start becoming able to build more complex things. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Because where I'm really taking you guys, Carol, is you can actually run SEO campaigns right out of this. Like you can generate files that rank.
So Jim just asked, how do you load that kernel into Claude? Just paste it. I'm guessing he's talking, yeah, that kernel that
Guys,
showed.
this is not a copy and paste. You have to have a conversation with your model.
Right.
Go back up to the section where I taught you. You have to talk about what you're trying to do. You can't just paste my kernel into Claude. It'll be WTF.
Right.
You have to give it context like it's a person. Hey, I want to build a personal business operating system. I took a training course. My friend Russell taught me how to do it. He's doing this. I want to build a similar thing. I'm going to give you actually more context. Let me see. Hang on a second. We already have that. Hang on a second. Okay, let's try this. Let me see how I can help one of you guys. All right, Carol, do you have your microphone hooked up to your system?
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't.
Okay. Does anybody have Claude and a microphone hooked up so they can do fast interactions with an AI?
I don't think I do.
Okay, that's okay. I'm trying to see if I can actually help someone build one in real time. That would be very useful.
Oh,
That'd take us into 5 hours though. I'm sure you guys are exhausted.
yeah, what you just gave us was really helpful. I felt like, that sounds like a really newbie question, but it looks like other people were really helped by the information you just gave
Oh
us.
no, I had planned today to help you build an operating system. Yes, I'm going to update the Milanote thing. I'm more than happy to help one of you. If everybody wants to stay, I did say it was a boot camp. Feel free to leave. You will get the replay. There's no problem. If anybody wants to build their personal operating system with me right now while we're recording, I will build it for you. All right, let's go ahead and upload this. Upload file image. And let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and download another one. I've never tried doing this before. Took the
How do you
large.
connect? So I'd have to connect my mic to Claude.
Yeah, that's okay, Carol. I think it'd be better
Yeah,
someone
I
who's a
think
little bit more
little.
experienced. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and not only that, but it's,
It is for beginners, but to help somebody, I really need to show them.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody is fast enough for us to do it in real time for them. Meaning they have to be connected to, there you go. So we're uploading the entire canvas. Actually, you know what we're going to do, guys? To heck with it. For those of you guys who stay, we're going to do a bonus session. I don't care. I want to make sure you walk away with real power.
Russell, you're awesome.
Well, that's why we're going to be doing boot camps for MEO Rising Tide, for entity optimization. We're only going to do one per month, or in different, one every other month or something. But we got to start doing that because things are getting interesting. Let's see if the 9 megabyte file comes up. All right, so I think it's time to take another bathroom break. For those of you who need to go, that's fine. For those of you who do not, we are going to actually build an operating system in real time. And it would be really helpful if somebody was able to actually do it. But I'm trying to think, what I didn't think ahead for in the boot camp was like, how can I guide somebody else's account without accessing your desktop like the creepy Microsoft help desk guys? So
Why don't you do that in the next one?
There's not going to be a next one anytime soon. That's why.
Oh, you said you were going to do okay, a bonus, but that's going to be a while.
Oh, there is, but it won't be this month. And I want you
Gotcha.
guys to, I want you to have something now.
I understand.
So, and nobody has to stay, and like whoever can stay is great. Okay, so we'll get that. And I think this is, just so you guys know, if you have a Millinode account, all you have to do is export and click this large file size, and that's what Claude can read. I believe you have to be in the paid account to get that. I'm not sure. And if it's not there, I've changed the settings to make sure that you can have it. Then you can start inferring with your account what's going on. Let me make sure that I've got this shared properly. Okay. So we'll go right through the steps. By the way, it shouldn't take that long, believe it or not, to actually build an operating system. Like, it's kind of funny. The only thing that's hard is your own ontology. Like, what is your business actually doing? So we should probably create a, make sure that this shareable export is shareable. Yeah, you should be able to download it yourself, guys, to infer anything you want from the data. You can build your operating system from the data. All right, I tell you what, let's see if we can do this. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and try something. And guys, we'll spend a little bit, let's take a pee break for 5 minutes, and I will come back, and whoever remains, I will try to give you the exact steps that you can copy and paste using a living AI artifact. I was going to save that for the advanced level training, but I think we should do it now because it might make it so you guys can have an operating system very quickly. Does anybody know what an AI enhanced artifact is? All right, cool. That might help us out. Okay, guys, I've just set up a sequence to try to make sure I don't torture you forever. So let's go ahead, and what I've done here is I've just set up the model. I did a reboot, but what I'm doing here is going to show you how to build an AI-powered artifact. Is everybody still here? Bueller? Everyone back? Awesome, thanks guys. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is an AI-powered artifact. Now, it got a little excited and started building it on its own. The difference between an AI-powered artifact and a regular artifact is that you will be able to open this in your account and start doing things with it. Everybody clear? I was not going to teach this because I've only done it a few times with my team, and it just takes a lot more thought. So I was going to do it in session 2, like Carol mentioned. Today is only the first part of this month, and I didn't want you guys to have to wait all the way until October for level 2, to get some stuff. I can obviously add it to the members area, but you get to see an AI enabled artifact, or we get to play with it. So now I got to tell you that we're in territory that I'm not an expert in, but I've played around with it. It's been very helpful. I've just never done it to try to give you an overview of the operating system. But the fact that the main thing you got to understand that you have that it's gold is that you've got all the images I used to build my artifact and the voice to the multimodal process I went through. You also have the resulting artifact, which is the hard work and the heavy lifting of how to boot up and close. And what your model can do is it can infer from that bootloader, okay, what the system is designed to do. And you can say, hey, I bet I can do that better. And the AI will say, yes, you are Megan, or yes, you are Carol, and you're unbelievably smart. You're smarter than Russell. Let's build a better system for you. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You actually want to infer something better within the context of your own life and your own model. Okay, so what we just did, whoops. This feature is pretty new, guys. So I've been playing with it quite a bit, which is why I was going to wait a bit to use it. Actually, got a syntax error. But what this does, has anybody used AI enhanced artifacts yet in any models? This is where it's all going, which is why a lot of the companies like Notion, all those guys are freaking out. Okay, so what an AI enhanced artifact is that it has Claude within Claude. Okay, so imagine back in the day when people were doing companion mode and all that. Would you like to make a scroll out of that? Imagine if the scroll was not just a memory anchor, but also an executable file. And what it could execute is it could talk, it would be Claude talking inside of Claude. And then you could share that with other people. And then the other people within their own account could interact with it. That's what we're doing right now. Looks like you had an error or an uncaught error. Looks like it's a syntax, unexpected end of output. Just on a little image. Uncaught error. I see the syntax error. Okay, I'll fix that for you. Guys, this was not something I was going to show you. Don't blow yourself up, okay? Anthropic's kind of scared about this model. My friend Nate is scared about this model, about this stuff. It's caused a lot of waves inside of the systems.